The debate has been settled for now. Auburn men's basketball is number one.
This is the Weekend Tailgate. Brought to you by Golden's Cast Iron. C-Dub. Ike Jones. Be Will. By G. You are now listening to
Weekend Tailgate, brought to you by our friends at Golden's Cast Iron. Visit goldenscastiron.com/WR and use code Get Your Weight Up for 15% off your weights and code TWR for $65 off fire pits and Kamados grills. It's spring, fellas, and if you're not grilling, you're not chilling, grill out, work out, chill out, all that stuff with Golden's Cast Iron, goldenscastiron.com/WR. Let them know that the War Rapport sent you. Great sponsors. Guys, sign up as a member. Ike was live in Tuscaloosa. He went to America's Junkyard for you guys. Tuscaloosa is the worst place on earth. He braved that. He walked from the ghetto to Coleman Coliseum for you. And if you sign up as a patron, he'll do that even more. I mean, he was in Vandy the week before, so I'm really taking some hits for you guys.
I don't wish that for Ike. I want better for you, Ike.
My man is out here braving the elements to bring you more coverage. Sign up as a member, hit that join button. $5.99 a month will get you there. You can also give the gift of the War Rapport by hitting that gifted membership button. We appreciate you guys for spreading the love that way to help us grow our community. Also, this show is brought to you by friends at Vintage 2298 Restaurant. Visit them at 2298 East University Drive in Auburn, Alabama. If you're in the Auburn, Opelika area looking for some fine dining, hell, if you're in Columbus and Phoenix City, you don't mind the drive on up, visit our friends at Vintage. They're helping keep you guys fed and happy for your major events. They got a nice little private dining room there if you've got a private event you want to host. Also, our friends at the Rogue Shop. Visit rogueshop.com and use code Rapport to get 15% off your Rogue Shop order. Pain, sleep, stress, anxiety, whatever ails you in life, not limited to, but including Bammers, Rogue Shop has you covered. Visit rogueshop.com. Again, use code Rapport to get 15% off your Rogue Shop order.
Gentlemen, welcome. Ike, as Mike mentioned, you were down in T-Town.
I was
doing the Lord's work.
In the elements.
Yeah.
Kind of detail your experience, man. This was first 1-2 matchup in SEC history, electric environment. You were there to witness it all. Kind of detail your experience. You went live.
I did.
For the game yesterday.
Right there from the sideline.
There you go.
I didn't break any rules because I wasn't live during the game. They didn't say I couldn't go live before the game. So I did. Let me start by saying this. Can I just start with my pettiness? Can I begin with the pettiness?
Wait, time out. Hold on, time out. You have to ask permission to be petty?
Yeah. No.
Let me just start with
do that.
No.
I don't know. I don't know who this person is. I don't know him. But the DJ was terrible. I just start with the DJ.
All right.
He was doing some kind of weird mixes where he was trying to like play songs over different beats, and they just didn't fit well. They didn't mesh very well. They did this very weird thing with their mic man where they were trying to be like, lights up, for this and then it wasn't very coordinated. It's very difficult when you have a bunch of people without rhythm trying to do rhythmic things in the stands. So that didn't work very well. It was loud though. It was loud. And as Bruce Pearl said, this might have been the loudest I've ever heard. And I've been to Coleman Coliseum a few times watching basketball games. This was the loudest I had ever heard it in there. This was the most imbalanced that I had ever heard it, where it was an overwhelming majority of non-Auburn fans in the building. It was almost as if they were, y'all remember when the little memo went out after the Duke game where they had to tell their fans, hey, if you're going to not come, make sure you sell your ticket to another Duke fan and don't just sell it to whoever. It seems like they got the memo and Bama was like, all right, If you're not going to show up and you meant to be at the game, don't give this ticket to an Auburn fan because they absolutely will buy it and show up at the game. The only problem was once Auburn started winning the game, the Auburn fans got louder and louder in that building, and it sounded like the equity balanced out, even though the numbers were overwhelmingly not in the favor of Auburn fans. And that was a treat to hear how loud Auburn fans were in comparison to Bama fans when they were clearly outnumbered in the building.
Okay, all right, real quick. So after every free throw made, we clap AU. And Bama likes to say sucks.
Right, yes.
Did you notice that as the game went on towards the end, the sucks
wasn't as loud. It was not as loud. It was very loud early, but here's the thing. With about a minute and 20 or 30 seconds left in the game, Bama fans started leaving. They started exiting the building with about a minute and something left in the game.
Just so you know, I intentionally misquoted you on Twitter. The Coleman, and I quote, the Coleman Coliseum DJ was loud and terrible. His weird mixes probably cost Bama the game.
Okay, I'm fine with that.
All right. Just so we're clear.
It was just weird. It was very awkward mixes. I was just like, I don't know what you was going for here, but I ain't like it, bro. I didn't like it.
You set the tone for the whole game, dog.
Yeah, your misses in the mixes were equivalent to the misses that Bama had from the 3-point and free throw line.
Hey, you messed it up, man.
Yeah, DJ laptop couldn't get it going.
So yeah, I mean, but like environment wise though, it lived up to the hype. Like it was I will say this too. It was a little disappointing walking up to the building and seeing that the crowd really wasn't like on cue standing out front like I thought that they would be. But the entrance that we come around in for the media is not the same entrance as like the regular public. So maybe there were more people on the other side going, I don't know. But I was like, and I got there maybe like an hour and a half before the game. But I expected there to be like a long line trying to get into the building, and really like 45 minutes till tip off. There were still a lot of empty seats in there. But by the time the game started, though, it had filled in and there was plenty of people, and it was absolutely a good environment. And it was wonderful in that environment to watch those young men respond over and over to every run, to every crazy momentum swing, to every missed call, to every whatever happened in that game. They responded every single time. It was beautiful to watch them do that.
You were there for the post game as well.
I was.
Talked to players, coaches. What was some of the things that stood out from the reaction from the players and coaches?
From the Bama players, and this is what I late in the game I said, Bama. Well, actually at halftime I noted this. I was like, I think in the Bama locker room they're going to say to themselves, we should be winning and or in this game because we just got to make shots. Like in their minds, if we just make shots, because you're controlling the boards, you're not turning the ball over. If we just make shots, then we're going to be right where we want to be. So I think that they left the game afterwards saying to themselves, we could play better and win this game, right? And I don't know that Auburn could play much better, and they won. They'd be wrong to say Auburn couldn't play much better because Auburn absolutely could play better. But Auburn did respond in every opportunity. So the players in the post game seem to kind of have that air about them of like, hey, if we handle business, we'll have an opportunity to get our get back here in a couple of weeks when we go into their building. From a coaching standpoint, or Auburn player standpoint, they felt confident. They were just like, hey, we did what we were supposed to do today. And we executed the game plan that our coaches gave us, and we walked out of here with a win, proving we're supposed to be the number one team in the country, right? This was a kind of a validation point for them of like, we took that L to Florida, little deflating, but we're still the best team in the country, and we proved it today. Now, from the coach's standpoint, I think Bruce Pearl was just kind of in this very taking in the moment, kind of like, hey, man, we played a really tough team, and we got it done, and he just seemed like very grateful to be in this moment and to have this moment go in the direction that he wanted to. Nate Oates wasn't happy. He was not happy that entire press conference. He was mad at the fans that threw crap out there on the floor. He was mad at the effort from some of his players at certain points. He was not like, he was grumpy that entire, which, I mean, listen, you just lost a really big game at home. I don't expect you to be happy in that moment, but he definitely was not happy in that moment. And it was evident with everything he said.
Mike G, you haven't had a chance to react to what you saw, man. Jump in here and give your initial thoughts. I mean, this game Auburn started out leading 9-0. They got started quickly and won by 9. So kind of give your thoughts on what you saw.
I'm not gonna lie, fellas. I thought Auburn might lose this game. I was concerned about Chad Baker-Mazara. That concern was misplaced. I was concerned about whether or not they could slow Bama down shooting. They still scored 85 in this game, but they shot, but not very efficiently. Yeah. Denver Jones he set up a torture chamber on the court in Coleman Coliseum. That man was making it hell on their guards all night long. It was so much fun to watch, and I think that they proved this whole notion about Auburn being good, but maybe not the most talented team. I think we should just put that to rest. Yeah, I think it's a shitty way to just kind of say, yeah, they're winning and they deserve it, but I don't like them. Right? Yeah. That it's the narrative that only the people who had already decided before the season that they didn't like Auburn, they're using that. They're like, I'll give you credit, but I'm gonna throw you this kind of like sly insult in the same breath. That's what that is. And I don't like it. I thought that you went on the road and you beat the number 2 team in the country. They've been clamoring. As a matter of fact, the coaches put them at number 1.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So laugh out loud at them.
That was more disappointing. I can almost accept that the AP decided they wanted to do that, but the coaches, I'm like, come on, give me a break, man.
Yeah, I mean, the AP got it right. The coaches got it wrong. The net had it right. Everybody had it right. We're too deep in the season for this sort of disrespect. What has Bama done that the coaches thought? And it was kind of weird because Auburn actually got more first place votes in the coaches poll, but somehow ended up number 2. Again, I think there's a reason why I won't use that poll for anything serious these days. But if you were an Auburn doubter, and I think we knew this from earlier in the season, all those neutral site games that they won against now top 10 opponents should have told you that this team has no problem winning away from Neville this year. Their only SEC loss came at home. They're undefeated on the road right now.
Yeah.
My big takeaway from this game was Auburn can win any kind of game you want to play. Slow grind it out, we'll win that. Shootout, we'll win that. We'll stop you from playing your game, or we'll let you play your game and we'll just play it better. This team has range, man. They can shoot you out the gym. They can score in the paint. They can play defense with the best of them. Well, you can't get bounced in the first round this year, fellas.
Listen, let me ask you this, Mike. Let me ask you this, Mike. If most teams Dylan Cardwell fouls out and their Chad Baker-Mazara fouls out, are they able to hang with a team like Bama on the road? Most teams.
Yeah, no. The answer is no. And look, Chad Baker-Mazara he's such a glue piece for this team. He plays defense well when he's scoring. Auburn's very hard to beat. And he did that last night. Right? So he was on us, make no mistake, he was on a slump coming into this game. Now, mind you, we learned later that he was dealing with an injury. But 15 points on 4 of 7 shooting last night and 5 of 5 from the free throw line. He's one of the best free throw shooters in the country, if not the best this year. Give me a break.
Yeah.
If you're Auburn, you lose without Chad Baker-Mazara last night. You absolutely lose that game last night without Chad Baker-Mazara. Broome, of course, is a walking double-double. But Denver Jones, boy, ever since that terrible game, he has come back. Man, has he bounced back nicely.
Yeah.
Right. And proved that, look, it was a fluke. I had a bad game. Just happened to be against the number 6 team in the country. And when those 2 teams meet again, possibly in the SEC tournament, that might be one for the ages. I was prepared to say that for a 1 versus 2 matchup, for the first 1 versus 2 matchup in conference history, it appeared that Bama didn't hold up their end of the bargain last night, shooting well below their normal percentage. I'm happy that they did, but they certainly, to me, like they were a flawed team coming into this one. I was impressed that they still managed 85 points, but I want to point out that although the free throw disparity at the end of the game looks a lot closer than it was in actuality, it
Yeah,
was not that close.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
intentional fouls is really what helped Auburn catch up. It was
Yeah,
not
yeah.
like they were getting whistles.
In the last 5 minutes of the game, when they had to foul Auburn to stay in it, it caught up. But going before that, it was almost like an 11 free throw disparity. And it was really helping keep Bama in the game. So for all you people who just look at the final stats and say, oh, but it was called pretty evenly, this thing was not called evenly. If you're Auburn, make no mistake, you survived the refs last night.
Yeah.
I thought that the flagrant on Chad Baker was weak. I thought it was weak. I'm sorry. The dude was riding him out of bounds. They were jostling. It's basketball, dude. They're competing. Just let it go.
So what I hated about that the most is, again, for the how many games are we into the season in a row? Tahad Pettiford goes to the lane and is clearly fouled on his a free throw attempt.
Right.
They don't give a whistle to that at all. They just ignore that and they go and review some crap that happened with Chad out of no, excuse me.
That was Dylan.
That was the one where Dylan
out.
got pushed. I was like, I didn't understand that, but the whole situation with that specifically with Chad is, if there was ever a reason for a double foul call, that would have been it. That would have been the reason for that. If you're going to call a double, like, not a foul on the dude who's bear hugging Chad and pushing him out of bounds. No, we're going to call, like, come on, like, I get it. And I don't really even want to continue to argue with people about, well, Chad's got to know that there's a microscope on him. He does have to know that. But if you're going into a situation where you're looking for something to call on Chad, then you definitely saw the other stuff too.
Right. Exactly.
Right.
Come on. Like, if you're not going to call the first thing, don't call the second thing. Don't act like you didn't
I just
see
want
that.
the adults in the room to be adults, bro. If you're a referee and you're an adult, like, understand that he ain't just doing this for no reason. And you literally saw it when you went to the monitor to look at it, because it wasn't an initial foul call on the floor, right? Like, it wasn't like you couldn't, you went to go review for a foul. You could have called a double foul in that scenario, and you didn't.
I agree. It's either a no call. It's either a no call or it is a call on both. You call a foul on both.
Again, Chad would have fouled out in that scenario either way. But to not call anything on Youngblood, who was clearly holding him and falling out of bounds, pulling him out of bounds, I don't know, bro. Like, what are we doing?
Right.
Yeah.
But yeah, the other one, though, that upset me was when freaking Dylan got fouled out of the game on what was a push in the back of Aiden, who, like, I don't, if he's running full speed and Aiden stops in front of him, I don't know what you expect to happen in that scenario, but I don't know how Tahad doesn't get a foul call on the made basket in that same scenario either. I'm just like,
I just knew Tahad was going to the line until
when I saw it initially, I was like, okay, Tahad and one, cool. And then I was like, wait a minute, what? Foul on Dylan? How y'all get all the way over there? So you skip past everything that happened with the actual play, and you saw Dylan run into, like, come on, bro. Like, are we doing this for real? Is this what we're doing right here in this moment? Is, man, they pulling away. We got to do something.
They survived the officials last night. I'm telling you, they survived the officials. And the defense was so good last night, holding Bama to 39%, right? I know they shoot a ton of threes, but if you look at their, like, shot chart on the year, they don't shoot as many threes as you think they shoot. Now, they shoot a ton of shots overall, but they actually shoot a lot more twos than they do threes, significantly so. Another stat that I thought was interesting in this game, fellas, was Auburn never trailed in this game,
Never lost.
never relinquished a lead in this game. We never lost. That's actually impressive. So in Bama made runs. They made runs, but they had an answer for every single run that Alabama made in this basketball game. On the road, in front of a hostile crowd, and they wanted it. The crowd wanted it at points when they started getting going, but whew, boy, there was an answer. There was a sequence, I think, where they hit a shot. Tahad came down and drilled a three. They hit a three. And then Chad Baker-Mazar came down and hit a three.
The stones it took for Tahad to even take that shot, I was like, this kid doesn't fear any moment. Bro.
Anything.
Because in that moment, it's a tie ball game. He's dribbling up in transition, and he was like, bro, I'm open. I'm just going to pull it. And he knocks it. I was like, yo, that's stones, bro. That's not freshman kind of, that's not a freshman kind of shot where you're just going to step up on the road, 1 versus 2, tie ball game, all the momentum going in the opposite direction. And you're just like, man, I'm just going to step up and knock this down.
So on TV, Ike, in that moment, I'm paying attention to I rewatched this game, and I was paying attention to the Auburn coaching staff. They were cool with it the whole way.
Yeah.
So what helps this kid to have that type of confidence?
It's crazy. I mean,
it's almost like they didn't sell him a drink.
I was told this coaching staff doesn't put confidence into players. I was told that freshmen guards can't flourish.
Let's go here. Let's go here.
Under the tutelage of this coaching staff. I just what I heard. Someone said that at some point in time, and I'm struggling to understand how a true freshman guard is allowed to shoot shots like that in those moments with all the confidence in the world. Like, it's
almost as though Auburn coaches are selling players a dream that they can
Let's talk about this for a second, guys.
I was confused.
Aiden Holloway, 3 for 8 last night, 1 for 4 from 3, 3 for 4 from the free throw line, 4 personal fouls, 2 turnovers, 1 assist in 16 minutes of play. He had an awful game.
Yeah, there was this kid for Bama, I think the one that you're talking about, that he had a wide open layup at one point in time and he missed it.
He blew it.
He had a 3 at the end of the game that he had an opportunity to, help get the lead back or shrink the lead a little bit. He airballed it, got his shot blocked late. I mean, I don't know, man. It's with that he didn't look very confident in those moments is all I'm saying.
Yeah. Look, man, 5 of 26 overall as a team from 3-point range isn't going to get it done if you're Bama, but give Auburn a lot of credit. Their defense, Denver Jones's defense, was a big reason why they struggled so much from the 3-point line. They were taking hard shots.
Yeah, and the ones that Sears made, he had to take them from like 2-3 feet.
They were from like Birmingham.
Yeah.
Right. So credit to him. But if he's going to hit those shots to beat you, you just live with that. If he's going to shoot the ball from 30 miles away and hit those shots consistently, those are low percentage shots.
Yeah.
So I don't know, man. I'm looking at it. Who for Bama had a great game?
Great, I think, is a stretch. I don't think nobody had a great game.
Everybody was mediocre in this game. And if you're Auburn, Janai Broom, 7 of 16, 19 points, 14 rebounds, 6 assists. He was the leading assist guy. I forgot when you look at his total points responsible for, it was like almost 40 points or something like that. Only 2 turnovers. Our guy, Chaney Johnson, continues to just be 50% from the field.
Chaney was hooping. Yeah. The thing I think I love the most about Chaney's game as he's progressed this season is talking about confidence in a player. His confidence in taking shots has just gone up. It seems every single week. He's stepping out and he's shooting the 3 confidently. The 3 he knocked down at the end of the first half in the corner was a big shot. That first 3 that he made from the wing was a big shot. Like the mid-range, he got fouled right before he pulls up and hits a mid-range right when Bama's making a run. Like he's just making buckets and he's playing tough. tough defensively. He's switching out on the guards, moving his feet really well on the perimeter. Chaney Johnson is hooping right now, bro.
Like, you remember when Chaney first got to Auburn, and it seems like he was doing a lot of thinking when he would be out there. He's not doing that anymore. Like, he knows exactly what he wants to do, and he's getting to his spots, and he's playing with a lot of confidence right now. He's peaking at the right time.
Well, I think the whole team is playing with a lot of confidence right now. They look absolutely fearless out there. Everybody who took a shot hit a shot except for Chris Moore. And, he does other things for you. He rebounds. He does some things that you can't quantify with stats in terms of energy and making it tough on the other team. But ultimately, when you look at this was a well-rounded performance. 6 players in double figures in this one, fellas. 6. I think the lowest double figure was 13.
Yeah.
Everybody else had more than 13 points, which is crazy. The best team in America got 42 points from their bench. So again, this idea that Auburn is somehow like good, but not the most talented, I think it's ridiculous. I wish people would stop espousing this narrative. Our guy over at, not our guy, but the dude over at Field of 68, Jeff Goodman, he started to change his tune a little bit on Auburn, right? Like there's some weird love affair thing that this program has with Field of 68. I don't really get it. But, ultimately, I think that the people who are trying to make a living doubting Auburn are running out of narratives. They're running out of narratives. And this is coming from somebody who I'm telling you, I thought Auburn was realistically was going to lose this game. Now they went in and they proved me wrong in every single way. I thought it was going to be tough to survive the refs in this one. They did it. I thought Chad Baker was a question mark for this one. He wasn't early. I worried about Denver Jones. No reason to do that.
Yeah.
It looked like Janai got hurt at one point. I was a little concerned about that. Yeah. He came back. As a matter of fact, it seemed like he was on the bench longer. He wasn't really on the bench that long because
he was on the bench with no
33 minutes.
Like he had his shoe off.
Yeah.
So it was concerning at one point, but then he came back out and was Janai.
Yeah. So you've got all these things that you had going on if you're Auburn, and if any one thing goes extremely wrong, you could lose this game. And so I'm telling you, the reason why I made a statement after the game that I think that come Monday, Alabama still deserves to be the number 2 team in the country. Despite shooting 39% from the field, they still managed 85 points in this game. And against anybody else in the country, they win. This is how they've been winning all year. Right? They've had these types of games before this year, but they just finally ran into the team that had enough horses to say, look, that's not going to be good enough tonight. I thought the home court advantage might actually give them a little bit of an edge. They had an edge. It just wasn't good enough tonight, last night.
Yeah.
So this is a really, really, really good team. Every team in the country right now, as of today, at 2:30 Eastern, fellas, February the 16th, has a worse loss than Auburn. Everybody. Mississippi State just clapped Ole Miss. If you're Bama, you lost to them. At home, at that, I think.
Yeah.
Duke suffered a loss to Clemson. Now, mind you, they're like a net 30, but they're unranked. Florida has a worse loss than Auburn. Even though they beat Auburn, you have a worse loss than Auburn. If you're Auburn, your only losses come to currently top 5 teams. One, historically, is one of the best venues in the country in Cameron Indoor, and the other at home. Now, the home loss maybe stings, but it was to number 3 Florida, probably number 2 come Monday. And you haven't lost on the road in conference yet. Yeah. Cut the shit, man. This is the best team in the country.
Yeah, I
They
don't know
proved
if
it.
anybody can debate that Auburn's the best
You
team.
can't debate it
I
anymore.
disagree that Bama should be number 2 though, but Florida's
I hear you.
I think you can argue. Now that's a conversation. Do they
Who's
fall
number
to
2 is a
3
really,
or
really good
4?
argument to me.
Florida.
Yeah.
It's
Do they drop
Florida.
to 3 or 4? Because really, Florida has an argument for this now. Because they have a better record. They beat a common opponent. They beat Auburn. Like now,
Yeah, it's
how far
Florida.
do you fall?
Yeah.
Florida's definitely number 2. Duke will probably be number 3 because they're Duke and they have a better record. And Bama will probably be number 4.
We're getting ready to find out how much the media and the people who do the choosing really want to push the Bama narrative on Monday. We'll find out. Because like you said, Florida has a really good case for number 2. I think the case that they will make for Bama at number 2 is, again, the strength of schedule. Auburn and Alabama, as it is respectively, I think have the first and second hardest schedules in the country. So when those losses come to those teams that bolster that schedule, right? If you're looking at Florida, I mean, their schedule isn't chop suey, but it's a little bit worse than Bama's. And I wonder how that's going to balance out come Monday, especially in the AP. Now, the net will probably give Florida the edge. But as a matter of fact, the net probably already updated. They update daily.
Yeah, but I say the net will have been updated by at this point in time because all games
Yeah.
have been
So,
played.
okay. So Bama fell to 6 in the net, right? 6 in the net. Duke 2 in the net. Houston 3 in the net. Florida, man, that Houston win just keeps looking better and better, doesn't it?
Yeah, man.
Yeah, I could see potentially Duke going back up to number 2 because they beat Florida beat the brakes off South Carolina too, but Duke they beat the crap out of Stanford, bro.
They
Yeah,
won a game in December. That is
18 top 25 teams played last night. Auburn wins over 8 of them. Currently top 25 teams.
That's insane.
That's a crazy stat.
Who's the next team that has the most who has the most quad 1 wins? Who's the next team?
I think it's Tennessee. Tennessee has 8. They're 8-5 in quad 1s. Kentucky is 8-6 in quad 1s.
They lost a brutal one last night to Texas, bro.
Yeah, I mean that's it. That's pretty much it. After that, you've got like Duke with 5 quad 1s, Houston with 5 quad 1s, Florida with 5 quad 1s. Iowa State has 7 quad 1 wins. They're 7-4 in quad 1s. Texas Tech with 6. There's a handful of teams between 6 and 7.
Yeah, see the SEC
Arizona is 7-7. Yeah,
the SEC is catching up with everybody because the next team was not an SEC team at one point.
Yeah, it's pretty much there's a few teams, like 3 teams with 8 quad 1 wins: Tennessee, Alabama, and Kentucky. After that, there's some 7-1 wins for some Big 12 teams: Arizona. Let's see here, Illinois 7-7. But the crazy part is when you look at a lot of these other teams like UCLA 7-7, they played some quad 1 games, but they haven't a lot of these aren't top 25 games. They're fringe quad 1 game. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense? It was a quad 1 game because it was, a top 75 on the road. But you still played the 60th team in the net. But since it was on the road, it qualified as a quad 1. It doesn't really come close to what Auburn is doing. Auburn is knocking all their quad 1 wins are all top 15 teams. With the exception of Mississippi State and Ole Miss. But it's the state of Mississippi.
Well, listen, gentlemen, let's get to the break real quick. We come back. Ike is going to give kind of what's going on with Auburn athletics. We're going to take a lot of you guys' comments, and I want to ask you guys a question about what does Auburn's outlook look like for the rest of the regular season as Auburn chases an SEC regular season crown. We will be back with more. Guys, please be sure to smash that like button while you're watching. Please subscribe if you're new to the show. We greatly appreciate it. We'll be right back after we pay some bills.
This edition of the War Report is brought to you by our generous sponsors. The Opelika Rage Room in Opelika, Alabama. The Rage Room is a place where anger and stress find their ultimate release. Call or text 334-777-6688 to set up a session today, or check them out online at opelikaRageRoom.com. Golden's Cast Iron. Whether you work out, grill out, or chill out, you deserve the best life possible, and Golden's Cast Iron is here to provide the tools to help you do it. Check them out at goldenscastiron.com.
Golden's Cast Iron, our title sponsor for today. Please go check them out at goldenscastiron.com/WR. Use code Get Your Weight Up for 15% off your weights and code TWR for $65 off fire pits and Kamado grills. The spring is here. Guys, you want to be outside, either working out, grilling out, or chilling out with our friends at Golden's Cast Iron. Please visit them this spring. Support those who support us. Longtime sponsors of the War Report, great sponsors of the War Report. This show is also brought to you by our friends at Underdog Sports. New customers deposit and get up to $1,000 in bonus cash. All you have to do is pick higher or lower on 2 separate player props, and bam, your entry could win you big cash. Underdog Sports serving our community here, allowing you to have some fun and win some money at the same time. Also great sponsors of the War Report, sponsoring everything that we're doing from a basketball standpoint so far this spring. We appreciate them for sponsoring this segment. Guys, check us out on podcast. Every single podcast network, the War Report is there, bringing you lots of great audio-only content. The Auburn Express, Up-Tempo, College Loop, just a sec, and our guys over at the Sooner Spotlight. I got Josh Marler bringing you guys great SEC content in audio-only format. So whether you're on your way to the gym, at work, or just going for a run, the War Report has you covered with all your favorite content in audio-only format. Please head on over to Apple, Spotify, wherever you listen to your podcasts. Subscribe and make sure automatic downloads are turned on so they can know that you support the War Report. Theirs helps us a ton.
You're muted, Ike. You're muted.
Bad. Yeah, let's get over into some Auburn sports news. Auburn tied in the weekend matchup right now with Holy Cross 1-1. They won the first game on Friday, lost yesterday. They're playing the third game right now, actually, over at Plainsman Park. So if you're into some college baseball and you want to check out the Auburn Tigers, they are handling that right now. Hopefully Auburn can go ahead and get that win in the weekend series there with Holy Cross. Auburn currently ranked number 22 in the country. So support your Auburn Tigers there. Billy Davis was named co-freshman of the week for Auburn golf. So having a good outing last week for them. Auburn golf is doing pretty well right now. I mean, again, this is a team that won the national championship last year, and they are making a bid to be back up there in the national championship ranks again this season. I did that last week. Don't know why that's in there still. Anyway, moving on, Auburn track and field, some record breaking happening out there on the track with the track and field team. You had a couple of people break these records over the weekend. The record books highlighted with the teams showing at the Tiger Paw Invitational in Clemson, South Carolina, and Boston University at the David Hemery Valentine Invitational in Boston, Massachusetts. You had Karamba, who set a new school record in the 200 with a time of 20.16. Ranks him number 1 in the NCAA and the world's 8th fastest indoor time. Broken the record there at Clemson University. Keonis Mixon cleared 4.44 to break the program record in the pole vault and sophomore Jacoby Tharp set the program record for the 600-meter hurdles at 7.53. While at the Boston University Track Indoor Center, sophomore Max Harden crossed the finish line at 3:57.67 to claim the school record there. So a lot of record breaking happening this past week with Auburn track. Just about an hour and 20 minutes from now, Auburn women's basketball is set to host Vanderbilt. So go out there and check them out. They've got to trying to find a way to bounce back from a pretty big butt whooping they took versus Tennessee on the road recently. So got a chance to try to get out there and make it right here versus Vanderbilt. So make sure that you check that out today at 3:00. Auburn Equestrian defeated South Carolina to stay number 1 recently. They had a surge there in the second half to take the lead and win over the number 8 team in the country, South Carolina. So Auburn Equestrian still doing big things. The women in softball remain unbeaten as they defeat Charlotte and number 9 Oklahoma State this past week. So Auburn is doing well in softball under new head coach couple there. Congrats to them. Narrow loss on the road, but a season high road score for the women in gym as they lost to the number 3 Florida Gators. But the gymnastics team continuing to make strides and stay in the race to remain in the top 15. They are currently ranked number 12 in the country. Are the women in gym. But that's all I got for your update right there with Auburn sports. Y'all continue to support Auburn sports wherever they are happening on the whatever court, whatever field, all of those things, man. And we'll keep bringing you the news about that stuff.
Appreciate that, Ike. Let's get back to some of your comments. Anthony Long with the super chat says, "I'm sick of watching Auburn games only to hear the announcers pull for the Auburn loss." Guys, I mean, Ike, you didn't hear it, but
Yeah,
Mike,
did you see the picks?
watched.
Did you see the picks before the game?
No, I got to go back and watch them.
Andrea Carter was the only one.
They're so much fun after they're wrong and Auburn wins. So I got to go back and watch them.
Of course, Jay Will picked Bama. The other dude over here, his name picked Bama. Andrea Carter. As a matter of fact, Auburn social media dedicated a whole thing to Andrea Carter actually knowing ball. And the rest of those dum-dums with their biases picking Bama. So I've had it with Jay Will, man. I've had it with this guy. I can't take any more of him. Like, I just don't understand. I'm like, bro, I know you know ball. I know you know ball. And yet, every time you open your mouth, out spews ignorance, absurdity, blasphemies, iniquitous vernacular. Bro is malfeasant. I hate him.
Well, Stephen A. Smith right there.
Right. Iniquitous behavior. Just admit it. They're good.
Well, listening to Jay Billis talk to is starting to feel like death by 1,000 cuts.
I feel like Jay Billis couldn't pick the game because he was calling it.
No, I'm talking listening to him call the game to me is just like, ugh.
Yeah, I feel like he would have picked Auburn in this one. I feel like
maybe, but no, it was rough watching. It was rough watching this game. Definitely, and I think a lot of it is because Auburn's number 1 and they're getting like the biggest games of the weekend, like 2 weekends in a row. So hearing the same ESPN crew talk, it's like, okay, this is starting to become a bit annoying. I don't get this feeling watching the SEC network.
Yeah. Like I said, shout out to Andrea Carter for knowing ball. Yeah. She actually spit facts, and then it happened almost like exactly how she said it would happen. It's almost like she watches the War Report because it's all stuff that we said.
She should if she doesn't.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. James Barnett says, fellas, how many teams can say they are undefeated on the road, won 7 of the top 10 currently, and first time a true number 1 versus number 2, where number 1 actually won? I think that was a wild stat that were like the number 2 team won like the majority of the time.
Man, it's hard sitting on that number 1 perch, man. I'm telling you. It's tough. It's tough playing with that.
How many weeks is this now?
5? Are we at 5 weeks?
Yeah, think so.
That sounds about right.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, listen, nobody, to answer the question, James, this is why Auburn's the number 1 team in the country. No, nobody else can say
that. Maine says Denver Jones is one of the best two-way players in college basketball. I stamp that.
Coach Pearl was making it very evident. He there's media, of course, in the post game that is not typically at an Auburn game because of the magnitude of this game. And he said, hey, like, when is the media going to start recognizing this? He made an advocation to the media to start talking about Denver Jones for the first team all defensive team.
Yeah.
He needs to be in that conversation, and you guys need to like write that as stories. So yeah.
Yeah. For the record, though, kind of going back to what we were talking about, We're currently in the 5th week. Next Monday will make the 6th week they open at number 1 in the AP. So it started at week 11 because going into week 10, Tennessee was 1, Auburn was 2. Obviously, Auburn took over in week 11, and they've been there ever since. So we're going into week 16 after this week, and that will be Auburn at number 1 for 6 straight weeks. That's actually crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. Usually we've seen so many teams have it for a week and they lose it. So for Auburn to go on this type of a run has been amazing. Lawrence Robinson says, I want to know who threw stuff on the court. Is Ike safe? Ike is clearly safe because he's here.
It looked like Nate Oates was he saw who it was and was
he said in the post game he didn't see it, right? But what happened is they made an announcement on the PA system to say, hey, if this happens again, like, please, they basically made a warning, like, please don't throw things out onto the playing surface, right? Then Nate Oates went over and grabbed the headset, and he was like, because apparently somebody came and told him, like, if this happens again, it's going to be a tech and they're going to get free throw shots. So he's like, hey, man, stop doing this crap. Like, he went and made a second announcement on the headset over the PA system. He was very upset about it. So, yeah. But he said he didn't know what happened. He just someone came and told him that that's what happened.
Lawrence Robinson also wants us to vent about Bama's 9 million free throw attempts. I mean, again, you guys kind of already talked about it, that there was a clear disparity. Auburn being able to catch up due to the fact that they were ahead and Bama was trying to foul and get them to the line. But there was a clear disparity in how this game was called in terms of the fouls.
Yeah, I mean, it was just the reason I'm not complaining completely about the officiating is because Auburn definitely got away with some stuff in this game as well. But it just seemed as if when it started to get away from Bama a little bit in the second half, the foul call, like, 2 of Dylan's foul calls were 2 of the most ridiculous foul calls. Like the one that he fouled out of the game on was ridiculous. There was another one where Mark Sears is driving to the lane, and it's clear Dylan is straight up on this, and he gets a foul call. And I'm just like, come on, bro. Like, now isn't the time. And I noted this when I was, and I've noted this for a few games. In these scenarios, I'm not upset that the foul call happened. I'm upset that wasn't a foul 2 seconds ago. Right. So, like, call it consistently is all I'm asking for y'all to do. That's not even a difficult, I mean, that's not a crazy request. Just be consistent in, this is a foul on this play. So the next play when that happens, it should be a foul. Or it's not a foul either time. And that was the problem I had with the officiating. Not necessarily that it was imbalanced, even though it felt like that watching. But it's the inconsistency, because now you don't know how to play defense in this game. You don't know, like, like, okay, the Janai Broom hook call that they gave to him, right? Mark Sears was hooking the whole game. The entire game, as he's driving, he's using his off arm to pull the defender's hands down so they can't contest. That's a foul on the offense. If you're going to call Janai Broom for doing that on the spin move, you got to call Mark Sears when he does it when he's going to the line. Like, it's either a foul or it's not. That's all. That's my call it straight up.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Lisa Wise says, I did not go to this game. I was worried about the refs and didn't want to lose my religion in that nasty place.
You were right.
If you're going to lose your religion, you should do it in a nasty place. So,
you'll blend in. You'll blend in. Yeah.
Completely founded your worry about the refs. And it was an issue last night. Auburn just played so well. It didn't matter at the end of the day. And I think very astutely pointed out that in the second half, every time it seemed like the game was about to get away from Bama, whistle.
Yeah.
Weird call. And that stupid flagrant on Chad Baker that he ended up fouling out on. Look, they had their shot and they blew the free throws.
Yeah, they only came away with 1 point after that whole.
Yeah, like, listen, Bama, they blew some critical free throws in this game. It wasn't a great night. I mean, overall, they ended up 74%. But that was more about, like, kind of what happened at the end. You still missed 9 free throws in this game.
Yeah, you missed 9 free throws in the game in which you lost by 9. Again, Bama's going to go back to this and say, we had this game in our grasp, but we let it slip away. They're going to come in feeling confident. But Auburn's going to look at how many missed free throws they had and how
10.
many, you had missed opportunities around the rim. And you're going to look at wide open threes from Miles Kelly that don't drop. And you're going to say to yourself, we can actually play better.
Yeah, if you're Auburn, yes, if they hit their free throws, maybe, they beat you. But if you hit your free throws, then they don't have a chance.
Correct.
Right. So a lot of times, again, looking back at the shot chart, Dylan Carwell 0 for 2 there. So that kind of hurts you. But, like I said, he's always going to bring down your free throw average. Janai
it was the
Broome,
late one from Janai.
Yeah, 3 for 9 from the free throw line is unusual.
Yeah.
That's unusual.
He usually hits 3 or 4 more of those.
Yeah. Like, I mean, he at worst, I think he would be like 6 for 9 from the free throw line.
Right.
But 3 for 9 was like, ugh, man.
He tweeted after the game, he was like, "My bad on the free throws, y'all. I'm going straight to the gym when I get back." Like he realized, like, I gotta do better than that.
That was the majority of missed free throws in this game. Everybody else only missed 1 outside of Janai and Dylan. But Janai's really what drug them down today. Like they clear 80% if he is at his averages.
Are we concerned about rebounding here? This is the second straight
100%.
game. This is the second straight game. And to me, I think this was another thing that kept Bama in the game was second chance opportunities because they rebounded Auburn by 9 in this game.
Well, they only scored 9 second chance points in this game. So the damage on that was limited. But to your point, it could have been worse.
Yes.
Right? Like you win by double digits easily if you don't give up those offensive rebounds, and it was like 4 or 5 straight on the one where Aiden hit a 3 completely on the everything was busted on that play.
Yeah,
they got like 3 shots at the basket, and the ball just kind of bounced to him, and he threw up a 3, and it went in. But he should have never even gotten the opportunity to get that shot.
Right.
So yes, I'm concerned about rebounding. People keep asking me on these radio shows that I do every week. Everyone says, Mike, what is it like? What's going to take this team down? If you're going to beat Auburn, how are they going to get beat? And man, I'm telling you, for me, it's 2 things. It's giving up second opportunities to teams that aren't shooting well, and it's turnovers. They turn the ball over and they give up second chance points. To me, that's how they lose to a team that they probably shouldn't lose to. But it's going to get tight here. Going into the tournament, there are no easy outs. Even the Final Four team, people forget, man, that they almost lost in that first round to what, New Mexico State?
Yes.
Yeah.
That game was final shot close. And then they went on an epic run where they beat, the 3 winningest programs in college basketball history. But it just underscores that no matter who it is on any given night, if you're not on your game, you can get beat. That's why winning a championship in college basketball is so difficult because you have to go on an epic run to a championship, beating a lot of really good teams night in and night out. And it's so hard that go back and look at previous tournaments, right? Like it's rare sometimes that even the number 1 overall seed wins it all. If you're the number 1 overall seed, you're no lock to make it to the Final Four. You may have an easier path. But we see a lot of people in those 1 seeds stumble more often than not. So if you're Auburn, you have that leeway, I think, that most teams don't have because you're number 1, you're deep. Somebody's having an off night. The chance that Broome could have an off night and Chaney can go 9 for 10 from the field on a day where Janai is having an off night is crazy. Or Denver can go wild. Or Miles Kelly can go crazy from 3. He's one of the best shooters in the country, guys.
Yeah.
When you need a big shot, I think if this team needed a big shot, if the game was on the line and we needed a big shot, I'm picking 1 or 2 people. Miles first, Tahad second. Game on the line, shot to win it. I'm picking Miles first. I'm hitting Tahad second. Tahad's percentages might not be the best in the country, but it's the moment.
Yeah.
When the moment is biggest is when he hits those shots.
Right.
So I don't know who you guys feel like, but man, I'm Miles Kelly. Boy, I'm putting him up there every single time.
Yeah, he's clearly Auburn's most consistent shooter.
Caesar, did you hear during the game where I forgot who it wasn't Jay Bill, maybe it was Jay Billis, but he was like, Janai had hit a step back three. Ike, probably didn't hear this, but he had a dribble, step back, pop the three, and they were
That
like,
move
you
was
just
crazy, by the way.
yeah, you don't expect Janai Broom to hit a step back three. I was like, have you been watching the tape? This year you do.
Yeah, that's not
He's
the
been
first time
doing
he's
it.
done it. Yeah,
Not close to the first time he's done it. He's been working. First of all, we know he'll take the shot, but he's been working. He's been hitting that step back three a couple times a game, at least every other game all season. So I'm like,
at the point to where they're not treating him like they treat Chris Moore behind the point line. You have to actually guard a Janai behind it because he will pull it and he will hit it.
He stretches the floor, and then when Chaney cuts to the basket, he's dangerous because Janai has drawn everybody out to the 3-point line, and you got to play them straight up.
Yeah.
And we know Chaney can finish at the rim. He's likely to dunk on your whole family tree. So I don't know. It's like these guys are calling the game, but I'm like, are you guys watching? Actually, I couldn't believe he said that. I was like, Janai's been taking threes. And then somebody came at me on Twitter, but like, he shoots 30%. But that's not the point. The point is that he hits enough of them during the game that you have to respect it.
Yeah.
30% for a big man, that's pretty good.
Yeah. Most teams will be, I mean, again, Bama lost by 9, but when Broom hit that second three, Auburn was up by 9-0 in that game. Most teams don't recover from that. So it's big moments that you have to account for. All right, gentlemen. Before we get out of here, I know some people had other comments, but before we get out of here, let's talk about the remaining schedule for Auburn. Auburn picks back up. They get a bit of a break. I think Bruce Pearl mentioned that he was going to give guys a day off, just kind of rest and relax. But they come back on Wednesday at 8 p.m. against Arkansas. That weekend, that Saturday, they're home. So both home games this week actually the next 3 games are at home. Arkansas, Georgia, Ole Miss. And then they have Kentucky on the road, A&M on the road. 2 very challenging road games. And then they finish the regular season at home against Bama. They finish, depending on where they put Ole Miss, you're finishing the regular season against 4 top 25 AP teams. How do we think this team closes the final 6 games of this regular season? 3 more weeks, guys.
I don't see them losing one. Honestly, I know that's going to sound boogish and homerish, but like I don't see them losing one. I think that the win on the road in Tuscaloosa solidified it for me. Florida, we knew would be a test because Florida just gives Auburn problems. Arkansas, I mean, they're a shell of themselves at this point.
They're playing better.
They're playing better right now, but I think Auburn's still a better team overall. As long as they don't sleep on Arkansas, they should win that game. Yeah. The only reason why I'm not as worried about Kentucky on the road is they have unless they can get some of their guards back healthy, I don't know how they can maintain. But Texas A&M on the road is the only one I'm looking at.
That's the one I'm worried about.
Yeah, and they got. I mean, I watched the UCF take down Texas A&M. Look, man, they're a solid squad, but I still got Auburn with the edge there. I just don't see it right now with how good they've been on the road. And then obviously Bama to end the season back in Neville. Look, Bama could get that game.
No,
they could get that game if they shot lights out.
Only if Auburn's resting players. Screw them.
Yeah, I don't know. Somebody made a point about
low. Now that's disrespectful. I'm gonna pull low management on Bama.
If Auburn doesn't need that game to win the regular season, then they should. They absolutely should just give some guys the night off.
Oh, there you go. All right.
And I would love the disrespect of we're not even playing Janai this game. It doesn't matter.
Well, let's talk about this for a second, right? Like Looking at the standings so far, if you're Auburn, you're sitting where in conference right now? I mean, they're
Just trust
clearly
me,
in first place.
Bama has a tougher
They have got a 1-game lead right now on Florida and Tennessee. I forgot who the other
Well,
team.
yeah, it's technically you have like a two-game lead on Bama because you've got the tiebreak.
Yeah,
Right.
but I'm saying like Florida is the only other team that only has 2 losses in conference, and they have the tiebreak against Auburn. So Auburn can't afford to lose another one, or they'd lose the tiebreaker to Florida.
Right, but yeah, you're 2 games in front of Auburn, of Florida. You're 2 games clear of Florida right now.
Florida's only lost 2 in conference.
Right.
Florida has.
Right now, if you look
They
at the
have A&M
standings,
at
though, it's
home,
saying
Bama on
that
the
they're 2 games
road.
behind.
They have 2 more really tough challenges the rest of the way.
That's interesting.
They
Why does
play
it say?
A&M at home
I'm
and
looking at
Bama on the road.
ESPN. It says that they're 2 games behind Auburn.
Florida. Oh, they lost 3 in conference. You're right. I thought they
Yeah.
had only lost 2, so they are 2 games behind.
Yeah, 2 games behind.
Yeah,
You're
so
2
yeah, you can afford to drop 1 more and be fine.
So if you run the table, so if you beat A&M on the road,
yeah, you can afford to just mulligan the game against Bama and be fine.
Yeah, you're in the driver's seat.
Yeah.
I mean, I know Auburn fans would hate that, but I'm just saying it's.
Yeah, they're going to want this sweep. Everybody's going to want this sweep. Janai Broom sweeping Bama. Come on, man. There's going to be brooms all over the arena that last game. They're going to be handed out brooms.
Brooms
Brought to you by Ace Hardware. Yeah. Every broom manufacturer is going to be trying to get in on that.
That's funny.
Yeah. So, yeah, they're 2 because, yeah, I remember after the Florida game, Bruce Pearl said specifically, if they had lost, they'd have been 4 games behind us. Now they're only 2, and but you're still clear in the drive. The tiebreaker doesn't come in unless you lose 2 more and they win out.
Right.
So the margin, I want to point out that the margin for Florida is also 0.
Yeah.
So
Florida
the margin
can't afford
for Florida,
to lose
Bama
anymore.
is 0. Yeah, they can't afford to lose any more games. So Auburn is really in a strong position because the other teams can't falter either.
Rand Stokes with the super chat says, how crazy would it be if Auburn and Alabama both won out and they rematch in another 1 versus 2 matchup to end the regular season?
Yeah, with Bama's remaining schedule, they could absolutely work their way back to number 2 before the end of the season. But I think
it's rough, man. They got a rough stretch, Mike.
Yeah, I know, but this is why I'm saying. This is why I said at the top of the show that I think it's going to be important to see how far do they drop in the AP come tomorrow.
Goodness gracious, they got a
right, because if they keep them in the top 4, if they just say, well, you lost by single digits to the number 1 team in the country, I don't know, man. I think if you're a Bama apologist, that even though they lost that game, yes, Auburn is clearly number 1, but Bama didn't do much in that game to dissuade you from keeping them firmly in the top 5.
Yeah, Bama should still be in the top 5 for sure.
Right,
I
yeah.
don't know that there are 4 teams in the country better than Bama right now. I think it's going to be Auburn, Duke, or Florida, and then Bama is going to be behind whoever. They'll be probably 4.
I mean, yeah, they play they have every remaining game against a ranked opponent. They go on the road against Missouri. They got Kentucky, Mississippi State at home the next 2 games, and then they go on the road to Tennessee, back home against Florida, and on the road against Auburn.
Yeah, they've got a tough stretch. I don't know. They don't get through that escape. No,
yeah,
they're going to lose 1, maybe 2 of those games.
I think Bama needed this game to cushion whatever blow comes from these next 3 weeks. This is going to be a brutal 3-week stretch for them. If they come out of here unscathed, I mean, they're already a good team, but I would be very impressed if they come out of these 3 weeks unscathed going into the final game against Auburn.
Yeah, I don't think it happens. I said that before Auburn played them. I don't know how they get through the final stretch of their season without losing 1, if not 2 games, and that's not including anything that is against Auburn. So yeah, I predicted that they would lose at least 2 of their final games, maybe 3. Now that they've lost to Auburn at home, it's looking more like 3, maybe 4.
Yeah.
That's just brutal. That's just
Yeah,
brutal.
so
But
the
that's
only
life
team,
in
and
the
Bama really, like I said, Bama's the only team that's one loss behind Auburn right now. Again, I think Bama's going to lose at least 2 more. Florida's 2 games back. As long as Auburn does not drop 2 games, if Florida runs the table, what does Florida have left? That's a good question.
They have A&M at home, and then they go on the road against Bama. That's really their 2 toughest games at this point.
Okay, yeah, and so I think that they can probably win both.
So that's
of
the
those
team you got to
games.
worry about.
Yeah,
Is
Yeah.
Florida.
yeah. Auburn just needs to not lose 2. They can only afford to lose 1 more game if Florida's going to run the table.
I think they sweep it. I think they sweep it at this point. I'm done doubting them. I doubted them coming into this one. I saw what I needed to see. I'm going full bug on this one. I think they finished historic end to the season. 2-loss, like the 2-loss teams actually have a very good record in the Final Four. 1-loss and undefeated teams do not. For the record, when you go back and you look at all the NCAA champions over the history, 1-loss and 0-loss teams get booted more often than not than 2-loss teams do. So give me 2-loss Auburn.
Okay.
I'm with it.
Cool with that. Any other thoughts, gentlemen, before we get out of here?
Auburn's number 1. Tell your mama, put it in your will. Tell your grandkids. This what we're watching. We are witnesses to something truly historic this year. And it's something that most teams, because of the way college sports is set up, we haven't been able to see this. And I think this is the good side of NIL, guys. I don't think without NIL that we have Janai Broome this year.
No.
I think he's off to go test his, test the waters or start making money, start his professional career. The word was Auburn dropped 7 figures to get Janai Broome to stay in what was the biggest NIL contract for any single Auburn athlete since the advent of NIL. I'll say that for the people on the back, right? Reportedly, from what we know, he got the biggest contract any Auburn athlete has ever gotten to come back for another year.
Spent. What do you think?
Yeah. And so without it, he's not here. And so what you have is you have a bunch of guys who are not making rash decisions to jump to the pros because they can make a little change while they're in college. And it's think back to the last Auburn team to achieve a number 1 status. They got bounced out of the tournament by a Miami team that was just senior laden. This is a very senior Auburn team, and what could be your most talented player in Tahad Pettiford. You also will have a chance to get him to come back to another year rather than doing what Sharif Cooper did. I thought Sharif should have come back for another year.
I agree.
Yeah.
NIL would have kept him around, I think.
Kept him around, yeah. And so you drop the bag on Tahad, right? And then you go out and you get the next Tahad. And you see if you can take advantage of these JUCO rules to keep Chad Baker in Denver and anybody else who might fall into that JUCO ruling for another year.
Well, that's going to be the interesting thing. I know we got to get out of here. They just got the commitment from the JUCO guy, Bashir, who is the brother of the Bashir who we played against earlier. If you're talking about bringing back Chad and Denver, and you've got Bashir again, what does that mean for a guy like Ja'Kai Howard, who has been waiting his turn, but will now not get an opportunity? Like, that's another forward that you're bringing in. That's an offensive guy. Like, that's going to be interesting. I think, like, again, you've already got his commitment in the bag, and you've been talking about wanting to bring Denver and Chad back. So that's going to be now 4 guys playing at that spot. What's that rotation going to look like? I think you have to focus on trying to go get some true point guards. You got a true PG coming in the next class, but because you want to be able to rotate those guys as big, because Miles isn't coming back. So there's minutes right there that you can give to Ja'Kai Howard, but you just gave some of those minutes now to a JUCO you're bringing in. So if you move Denver off the ball to the 2 and you can play Tahad and your true freshman, I think you got to go get another point guard in the portal. But like, it's going to be interesting to see how they develop this team going forward, because you got to go replace your bigs. Dylan and Janai are going to be gone. Chris Moore, who's playing big minutes for you, going to be gone unless you can get Chaney to come back because of the D2 rulings that are happening there. You don't have any bigs coming back in your coffers. So
if you
it's
get
going to be
Chaney
interesting
to
to
come
see
back,
what
that'll
they
be
do.
major.
Yeah.
That'd be major if Chaney can come back.
So yeah, I'm this offseason is gonna look. I mean, I don't want to look too far ahead because the season's still going on. But because that came in today, as far as his commitment is concerned, I am interested to see kind of how this team develops over the offseason.
Good talk, good show, gentlemen. Mike G, give us some announcements before we get out of here, sir.
You always know the deal. I want to thank our title sponsor, Golden's Cast Iron. Visit them at goldenscastiron.com/WR. Use code Get Your Weight Up to get 15% off your weights and code TWR for $65 off fire pits and Kamalo grills. Guys, hit that join button. Become a patron. Help us keep the work that we're doing going. Ike Jones on the road for you guys. I don't know if he's going out to Texas A&M.
Not happening.
Yeah, I don't know, but he might hit Kentucky for y'all.
I'm thinking about going to Rupp. I'm thinking about it. So.
But you can help keep that work going by joining as a member. Appreciate any gifted memberships that we're giving out today. Also, want to thank our sponsors real quick. Vintage 2298 Restaurant and Butcher Shop. You can find them at 2298 East University Drive in Auburn, Alabama, and the Rogue Shop. Visit rogueshop.com. Use code Rapport to get 15% off your Rogue Shop order. Pain, sleep, stress, anxiety, whatever ails you in life. The Rogue Shop has something that has you covered, and our friends at Underdog Sports, new customer deposit and get up to $1,000 in bonus cash, just a bit higher or lower on 2 different player props. And bam, your entry could win you big. Underdog Sports, great sponsors of the War Report here. Come tournament time, you want to be on board with them. Check us out on podcasts, every single podcast platform. The War Report is there bringing you lots of great audio-only content. Please subscribe on those mediums and make sure you turn on alerts. That helps us a ton over there.
And guys, listen, I have no analytics. This is all feelings, no facts, but I hear that it's easier to share lives and videos after an Auburn victory. So please do us a favor and share this video, reviewing the game, talking about Auburn basketball, friends, family, message boards, wherever you can. Smash that like button. Please subscribe if you're new to the channel. We're on X, IG at The War Report. We're on TikTok at TW Rapport. That's it for now, guys.
Hold on, wait a minute. One more thing. I did mention it earlier, just because it's not a Bama show and I don't care that much about them. But there is something brewing between Nate Oates and Mark Sears. Like, it's just go watch the post-game press conference that I have posted on the channel, and you tell me in the comment section whether you think the comments that Nate Oates said about Mark Sears indicates that there's some kind of friction between those two. I'll let you be the judge of that.
And follow Mark Sears' mama on Twitter. she be scooping. She be dropping the tea.
Yeah. So just go do that for me before y'all get up out of here. Go watch the Nate Oates press conference and listen for the Mark Sears comments, and you tell me what you think about them.
Get some popcorn too. Wow, before you watch that, you'll enjoy. All right, guys, we're out of here. Enjoy the rest of your weekend as always. For you.